Yeah, 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 yeah. Sick and tired of fighting, niggas just wanna do writing. Hopping on autopilot, cause I know we are divided. Half of the homies is rioting, we need a better environment. I don't know what are my chances, is it Trump or Biden? Sick and tired of fighting, all of my brothers is dying. People be acting surprised, but none of this shit is surprising. Asking the sky for guidance, we need some better advising. Is it the worst of the worst? Is it Trump or Biden?
My name is Billie Dean Thomas. I am a hip-hop artist as well as a cultural producer of events, a creative consultant. I love working with artists, specifically surrounding sustainability and entrepreneurship. And I'm a lover of ideas. I love to sort of like brainstorm and bring projects to fruition. And I'm an all-around just music head. So anything merging music, multimedia, live performance, and elevates artists, I'm all in.
Telling me black is king, but the whole world is smart. You want the finer things, I just don't want us to fall. They told me watch my back, so I'm just watching you walk.
So here's a question. I really like your new album. An EP. Would you consider it an EP?
Yeah, I do. Just because I didn't want it to be my debut album.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. Almost.
Tell us about that. Tell us about where you are in your music journey and why you want this to be an EP and not like where you would want to get to as far as having an album. Because I think this is great, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, an album for me really, I've been sort of delaying putting out an album for a really long time just because I guess my expectations of what that would be like is like very thorough and involved, and like I imagine myself in rooms with these other producers and people actually building from scratch, and if not completely from scratch, but like sitting there and building with producers a very fine-tuned and well-produced high quality record. And I haven't really been in a position yet or found the right people yet to really bring a full-fledged project that I would be proud to call my first album out yet. And so I think the reason that I keep leaning towards EPs or putting out small projects and then the like 5 to 7 track projects is really because it's just a testament to like, I guess, my progression and what I'm making, and to keep people sort of up to date with what I'm making and what I'm thinking. But I still haven't quite felt like this is album material yet. Like I want to be better. I think that's really the bottom line, is like, I don't feel like I'm at a place where I'm super satisfied yet with the quality to call it an album.
Are there, certain people that you've wanted to collaborate with, or ideas for, like, what would it take to get to the album space, as far as like, do you want to be part of a bigger group of people, and like, how would you set that up in your mind?
Yeah, this is, such a great question, and really will push me now to like try to actualize this. But the most fun and enjoyable process that I can imagine is like sitting with or meeting with at least 1 to 3 different producers who all sort of know what my goal for the project is, what my concept is. And we all are having an independent dialogue, but also like a collective dialogue. So everyone's kind of on the same page, and really a team. I guess I really just want a team of people that I can work with that will be committed to this creation and a body of work, and not just like one-offs where I'm like buying a beat from this person, making a beat in the studio with this person. And maybe my expectations are not, maybe I'm setting myself up with the wrong expectations, because what I'm finding is that the reason I keep sort of calling things EPs is because I keep waiting for this like master moment to happen with all of these people. And I don't think, maybe what I'm realizing is that it doesn't work that way. Like maybe, you put out the EPs and you put out the work that you have in process until you can get to that point where maybe you're surrounded by all of these people who are like working with this one common goal. So that might just be a personal flaw where I'm like waiting for something that may never come, or won't come right now. But because people that I've worked with used to get really frustrated with me, like, why can't you just why can't this be the album? Why do you have to wait? What are you waiting for? Like, producers that I've worked with get really frustrated with me because I don't put music out right away. Like, a lot of the music I'll sit on for 2, 3, 4 years before I do anything with it. And then I get so bored of it that I don't put it out at all. And then they're like, you just wait. What was the point of it? But I guess they're like babies, like you don't want to present them to the world until you feel like, one, it's the right time, and not about the world the right time always, but more so just like how you feel in that time, and if you're comfortable and confident to put it out. So yeah, it's interesting. I guess I'm complicated for no reason.
Believe me, obstacles I had some, nothing's impossible, man. About to blow like a popsicle, cause I'm sick, no selling my fictitious set of shit. One of kind, I'm verbal with the kick like Vic, never lipstick on my mouth, less I got a femme by the hip like a full clip, about to flip like a gymnast. Do it.
I heard this interview between Rick Rubin and Nas, and Nas was talking about working with Kanye on King's Disease, his new album, which is pretty good.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And he said everyone has a different approach to it because we all love this culture and we love this art form, but we're all trying to make the stuff that blew our minds when we were kids. I was like, oh, that's a great thing to think about. Do you think about that when you, like, not directly, but first of all, what blew your mind when you were a kid? Doesn't have to be hip hop music, anything.
Really what blew my mind as like a 10-year-old was just like the enunciation of words. I've been thinking about that a lot over the last week. Like, it's bizarre. I was very nerdy and I would just sit and replay songs over and over again to understand the phonetics of them. So like, even different languages, I just wanted to be able to say it back. And so I would sit with like the dictionary and then I would write the lyrics down before I knew that, like, probably, yeah, this was before I could just search the lyrics online. Like, I would write them myself and recite them. So yeah, I think words really blew my mind. I would listen to a lot of reggae and, patois. I couldn't speak patois, so I wanted to like understand what they were saying. And like, just words was really, really inspiring to me. Were really inspiring to me. And also, flows. Like, my favorite rappers when I was a kid were like Busta Rhymes. Obviously, Biggie was really big. That, I feel like a Biggie Small song was the first time that I was like, this is incredibly dope. The way that he's bending words and like playing with syllables. Like, that was the first thing I noticed about him when I was a kid, like double digit. And I was like, I knew everyone loved him, but I didn't know why. And then I started listening to Biggie's music and I was like, damn, the way he's like playing with language is so interesting, the pauses and the syncopation. And so in retrospect, I'm like, I was a really nerdy kid. Like, I would just listen to words all day, and play with language and read the dictionary for fun and just like really nerdy shit.
Rocky Balboa, they don't got a clue. I'm like Rocky Balboa, hit you one and hit you two. Hey, Rocky Balboa, they don't got a clue. I'm like Rocky Balboa, hit you one and hit you two.
I was also thinking, you're like someone that's so into everything. Like when we did that thing for Sound of Boston and at the MFA, how did that come together for you? And also, that seems emblematic of kind of everything that you do. Not that everything you do is like at such a grand level, because I know that's not how it works. It's like, every so often an artist gets like a big thing, but like most of it is just grinding and doing, like, even big successful stand-up comedians, like 5 days a week, they're in like little basements doing these open mics and then one big show maybe. So it's like, you just seem like you're into everything. How did the MFA show come together? And maybe we'll start there.
Yeah. Well, the MFA show really, I just got an email from the event producer, or like the woman who runs, I guess, the showcases that go on there for the exhibits. And she just asked me, would you be interested in curating an entire evening, specifically surrounding the gender bending exhibit? And I was like, what? This is exactly what I love to do. Like, I absolutely love bringing together a bunch of artists that inspire me, that I find extremely talented. And it allows me to also like be who I want to be in the future, which is like an A&R. Like, I like to scout talent. I've been doing it just like in the back of my mind my whole life. And that's like one of my dreams. So to curate shows and to produce events for me is really fun. And so she reached out to me simply with an email. I don't even think at that point I had even really met this woman much, but I was just really grateful to be invited to do something, especially at that level in this like huge courtyard at a major museum in the city. I mean, it was just really cool. So I was kind of shocked that she even asked me to do it. But yeah, so she invited me to do that. And basically the premise was just, here's some money that we have set aside for folks. You can produce the event any way you want. You have total creative freedom. You can hire who you want. You can book who you want. And you also are then responsible for, coming up with the set times, like the whole thing. I had to do the whole sort of structuring of everything. And so it was a lot of work, but it was also really exciting because I was like, oh my God, now I have an opportunity to elevate certain artists that I love and that I've seen perform, and that, I would love to give this like stage to do this in this huge courtroom at this museum. Like, this is going to be sick. And so I started curating. I came up with a whole title and a concept for it, because I told you I love concepts. So I came up with this whole theme. I did the graphic design. I got photos from everybody. I just ended up producing this event, and it ended up coming out really successfully, which I'm really grateful for. Everyone was really fantastic, all the performers. And I get a cherry on top, which is I get to perform too. So, what better of a way to sort of, I get to be a performer, but I also get to curate and kind of make it really special for everybody else. The drawback, though, is when you have to be a producer, you don't really get to enjoy as much. But I'm still really glad about the turnout and how cool it was. And I'm glad that you got to come and hang out.
Okay, so that makes me think also a couple things. What do you think are some of the driving forces that was only 2019. So that was the summer 2019, which was a year and a half ago, year and 3/4 ago. Yeah. And now you said there's more queer rappers out in Boston that are making waves. What do you think has changed in such a small amount of time?
I think things like that. I think that event was definitely cool and allowed people to be noticed that maybe had not been before. I think also, to just congratulate and big up Brandy Blaze and Red Shades, they were just going ham at that time too. So I think having everyone working really hard independently, but also in that moment, really allows for the full sort of ecosystem to kind of be more of a launch pad. It's like you start to float up. And I think that was definitely what was going on. I also think, with the grants, like the Boston Foundation's grant, the lab grant, that also allows people to finally get some funding to produce these really incredible works and to partner with these other institutions that also elevate them. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't have the finances as, independent artists to make these big, grandiose sort of events happen. And so that's the annoying part. But the good part is that with those partnerships, it can do a lot of work to really shed a light on who's here and what's been going on. And it's not like they're discovering us, right? And that's one point that I always try to make to many people, is that I appreciate the organizations that include folks and do it well, but they're not finding anything. They're not like creating anything. Like these artists in Boston are producers of their own events. They make their own stuff. Like everyone here is very self-sufficient and really drives their own portion of the ecosystem. And so that's one of the things about Boston artists that I really respect, especially in the queer hip hop scene, because people have their own forces. Like, you know, like they don't need an organization to do any of these things. It's just great when the organizations do support them and give them more of a platform. You know, they just need a platform. People just need to be seen and be heard. And if they have the ability to do that, then great.
In the dream, all I need is $1 in the dream. So let me get that $1 in the dream. Cause all I need is $1 in the dream. Dollar, I said D-E-A-N. Not about that chitter chatter unless you paying. Do you hear the words I'm saying? Credible for me to be alive on this day. Fill a speaker with some demolition to my days.
So who are you really?
Really? You really want to know? It's not like exciting.
Well, you said you want people to see who you really are versus this idea of Billie Dean Thomas that you've been building up. So what do you want them to see?
Wow. I really want people to just understand that my vision is collective. And if ever it has seemed like it's very much about me, it really isn't. Like a lot of the ethos and the work that I put in is always about other people. But I think you could probably get confused because of maybe how I dress or like, you know, the intentionality of my voice and my work. You might think that it's about me, but it's not. Everything that I do is for everybody else. And even the conversations that you don't see me like, I think that's another part of it too, is like, because I do wear so many hats in life and also like in the Boston sort of ecosystem, people don't notice the work that I'm doing because a lot of it is not done in a public way. And so when you're curating an event, I'm not talking about all of this stuff that's going on behind the event and how I'm like advocating. And I also don't think it's important for me to be getting pats on the back about doing the work that I know is good and that I want to do. So, but the bottom line is I want people to see and to know that like I'm for our community, I'm for the queer community, the queer Black QTPOC community. You know, I'm really for artists in general. Like I do everything that I can to make artists' lives, you know, just better and artists to be respected. Like that's my whole every day. Like that's what I do for a job. That's what I do when I'm out on the street. And yeah, that I'm here for the people. Like that's, you know, that's just kind of like who I am as a person. And so that's what I want them to see. I don't want you to see the like, you know, on stage Billie Dean Thomas, like rapper and who's dressed nicely. And so I don't want to talk to them. Like that's I'm a musician. Like that's what, you know what I mean? Like that's what we're supposed to do. We're on stage. Like why am I up there if I'm not giving you a performance? You know what I mean? But I'm a person too.
Be free, free man. I was left alone all abroad. I don't do this here for no broads. I do it for kids with no voice. Do it for tips I gotta charge. Do it so I can live large. Live large on a pedestal high. Live fly like a pelican fly. My son, they gonna live this life. Po-po, what they call it by? And I write these songs like a book of the Psalms. And I tell it to y'all like a reverend taught that.